This episode of Do the Work Podcast, Real Estate Edition, is brought to you by Jason Smith team at Nova Home Loans. Jason, a Navy veteran, has been recognized as one of the top 100 loan originators in the country. There is no task too big or too small for the Jason Smith team. Every client counts. For the best rates and great service, contact Jason at 480-227-6231 or visit novahomeloans.com. I personally stand by his service, and so do thousands of satisfied clients. That's Jason Smith at Nova Home Loans. NMLS number 210839.
That's what I want to tell you that day. When you told me that I had that resting face, I want to be like, you were like a puppet the whole time. So we got in this fight.
Kind of like what I'm doing right now. I'm like engaging. See that? Got it.
But I know you're being a little punk. Because
No,
I know
I'm
you're
not. I'm engaging.
You're a puppet.
So let me stay like this.
You're a weak puppet. That's what you are, a weak puppet. That's all I got to say to you. But get back on the subject.
What is going on? Welcome to another episode of Do the Work Podcast. I am your host, AZ Araujo.
And I'm Carla Araujo.
And we have a very, very interesting subject today. And I am going to bring up an author, philosopher that I really admire. And I want to know what your take on it is. His name is Jordan Peterson, right? And this is a conversation we've had before about how men need to grow up, about how, when I was showing up as a weak man, it really brought a lot of just a lot of uncertainty. It destabilizes the home. When a man shows up weak, I believe that is the first step of destroying the household. But there's different ways to look at this. And I know that we're going to get into the conversation of how some women look for weak men in order to, to be in that position of power. But again, this is a conversation. You may disagree with me, you may disagree with Carla, but this is going to be a conversation. But before we get there, we were actually on a Zoom call, and there was about 100 people on the Zoom call, and you and I were on there, and we were discussing our marriage, about how we've been married for 17 years. And we've been happy together for 5.
Yep. And we've been together for 23 years.
Has it been that long?
23, 24 years. Yep.
No,
we've been together.
22 years.
22 years and married 17 and happily married for 5 years.
Happily married for 5.
Yeah.
And, we used to measure our success based on the number of years. I remember people asking me, I was like, oh, yeah, we've been married 10 years. But little did we know.
And then I was like, I can't wait until I'm like 6th year anniversary, my 10th year anniversary. I'm like,
but after a while, we're like,
enough is enough. We got to stop counting these years. Let's count happy years.
Yeah, happy years. And it turns out we only have 5.
5 years so far.
I think we counted 5. 5 may be a stretch.
Yeah.
But we're happy now, which is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think that came on the back of just prioritizing ourselves. Like, I prioritized myself, you prioritized yourself. And we started coming together and now appreciating each other more, respecting each other more, loving each other more.
Yeah, we were asked, how do we save this marriage? And we're like, we did it.
Yeah.
The marriage wasn't saved. We saved ourselves.
Yeah,
happened to be we're in the exact same journey. Ended up being together on the same road. And we're like,
let's get together.
Let's get together.
Let's
it
get
works.
Together.
But
as adults, because you got to understand something. I mean, when we're 20,
19.
You were 19. I was 20.
You were 20.
I was 20 years old. I was a kid. And I
you were a teenager with no chest hair. You know what I mean? You had a little baby chest hair.
I'm full of hair right now.
Yeah, you're a man now.
I'm a man now.
Before it was like little pecs. You would like pop out your chest.
A little puppy.
And then you would wear more clothes than you needed to look bigger because you're a little skinny stick. You're a man now though, baby. You're a man.
I'm a big man now.
You're a big man. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So, when we're looking at each other, we look at each other like kids.
Yeah,
and so we treat each other like that too.
We were treating each other very much like when we were 20, very immature like. We would have our little adult tantrum style conversations. It's about, rushing to the bottom to be the biggest victim in conversations and arguments. It was just everything that we did as young adults, we were still doing in our 30s.
I think it's funny. We didn't argue about like the money or relationships or anything like that or jealousy. We argued more about like who stopped controlling me, stopped telling me, what to eat, what time to wake up. Like we were acting like kids. Like we were brother and sister. It was the oddest thing. It was our arguments were very childish.
Right. Yeah, it was childish.
Our arguments. I'm not saying brother and sister. Our arguments were very childish. They weren't.
Yes.
They weren't anything immature. That was important. Immature. Yeah.
Yeah, they were very immature, and to talk to each other the way we did.
Yeah, like I'm
at
telling you,
35
like
years
like
old,
two
same
siblings
way.
that didn't get along. I'm telling you. I know it's not the way to put it, but almost it's like it
I'm
was
already
weird.
past that. I'm past that one already.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
example.
Well, just all
You're going back to that. I'm past that.
right, well,
No, but there's a lot of truth to that. It was just very childlike. It was very, just immature.
Yeah.
And what we decided to do was to end that relationship. In that relationship, because with that came a lot of lot of how can I put this? Just it was chaotic. It
Well,
was very.
I'm gonna go back to the Zoom call though.
Oh,
Situation.
yeah,
Go back
yeah.
to Zoom call
Yeah.
situation.
And so we were on the Zoom call, and one of the things that I noticed, Carla, I was there. There was a lot of people involved, and when you get invited to a party, when you get invited to a call, you want to show that you're appreciative of even being there, right? Otherwise, if you're gonna be in a pissed off attitude, don't go.
Okay, but
go.
I just want to make sure we're clear on this because you're okay. You want to tell the story, or you want me to
Okay,
jump in? 'Cause I'm gonna jump in. I'm
we're-
gonna jump in. And I'm gonna defend myself. So
Well,
if you want to
yeah.
finish it, I'm gonna defend myself.
So, all right,
because you think I was pissed. I was in the zone.
No,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think that the majority would side on my side
Because
side
that's how
with
they
me.
see women. That's how they see women. I
Hey,
don't
when-
see women like that.
Yes. Okay. So let me tell you what happened.
But go ahead.
So let me tell you what
I think
happened.
go ahead and tell your story because I think it's nonsense, and I think a lot of
I'm
women out there
trying
are going
to,
to agree
but
with
you
me.
keep on, like,
All right,
getting
go
in
ahead
my
because I'm a
mix.
little angry.
So we're on this call again. We're guests on this podcast. We're guests there, and she, when you get invited to something, you want to show face. You want to be excited to be there, and Carla's focus face was like, I'm in a pissed off mood face. Like the whole time she had this frown, all right, a frown on her face, and
First,
just
I
like,
have no frown because there is no wrinkle right here. So
all right.
that's
Well,
untrue.
anyways,
That's
her
untrue.
brow was like
That's
it was
untrue. Nowhere in my
Can I
forehead
show
was
you a
there any.
picture?
Nowhere in my forehead was there any movement.
Okay. Well, anyway, there was no smile
Because
along with that.
That is untrue.
There was no smile along with that. So here we are talking to different people, and she's just sitting there all pissed off. And there was a moment where I said, "Hey, babe, like what?"
No, so the moment was not like that. First and foremost, I want to tell everybody the moment because I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that goes through this. So they're talking on this call, and I'm very in tune. Like I'm focused on what they're actually
You're
saying.
not okay. So when you show that you're in tune, there's mannerisms that we have to show, right?
What is your
either the
mannerism?
It's either a physical mannerism to acknowledgement, or it's like a gesture,
So first
or
and
even
foremost,
talking.
she was talking, and I'm looking straight at her, with this straight face.
But this happened for like an hour
Nothing
straight.
was she saying because nothing was funny, nothing was anything. I was serious, and I was tuned into the whole entire Zoom call, and it was conversation, and I'm tuned into it. You're, and I'm pretty sure a lot of men out there, I think you want us women to smile and laugh and all these things, but I don't see anybody on that Zoom call. No male on that Zoom call was laughing and giggling.
Yes, they were.
And so
not
they
laughing
weren't.
and giggling, but they were engaged.
I was engaged too,
It's
and I
called
was
social
looking.
norms.
I was looking at her, and I was focusing. And she was like, "What do you think, Carla?" And I was answering the questions. So I was all there, 100%. But I wasn't the woman you wanted me to be
No,
at that
it's not
moment.
even that.
So this is the thing. You then not only did you tell me
I said,
you put the microphone
I
kind
went
of
like this.
down. Yeah,
I
you
went
did.
like this.
And you said, "Why you look so pissed off?"
No, I said, why you look so serious?
Right? No.
I
Okay.
said, why
whatever.
you look so
whatever.
serious?
Whatever. So the person on the other end heard it, and she looked, and she on the Zoom call, she goes, "Ha, ha, ha, why'd you look so serious?" Kind of deal. And I'm like, wow. And it wouldn't have been on the other end of it. I'm not concerned about that. I'm more concerned on why you told me. And I'm like, and then it caught me off guard because I'm like nothing. I'm actually enjoying this call. I'm actually listening to what she's saying. Everything is interesting. I actually enjoyed the whole call. But the fact that you called me out on my face, I just want to know,
RBF?
how do you, that face. So it made me think, how many women go through what I go through? And so our faces are not pissed off. They're just serious. And so how do you think a woman should look?
I don't even look at this from a woman and male perspective. I just look at it from a human perspective. Like there's certain social norms that must be followed when you're a guest, when you're part of something.
Well,
right?
in
And
my
it's
eyes,
like it's like acknowledging
to me,
and it's also maybe like engaging, and it's also like smiling. But and you avoided all those things, and you just stood there like
see
this,
it that way,
like this.
I
And that's how
thought
I was
the
like,
call was so interesting. I love the fact that we were guests on
but
there.
we did talk about it afterwards, and you saw some of the video. Am I wrong to assume that you were look pissed off?
100% you're wrong. Guys, did I look pissed off on this call? You were there. No, right?
Of course they're gonna say no.
Did you have you guys watched it?
I'm gonna show you some video.
I want to see the clips.
I should've brought it for this.
I want to see my face on this because to my understanding, I didn't look pissed at all. I thought I was chill and I enjoyed it. and you don't have a right to kick me underneath the table.
No, I
and
did
then
not
go like
kick
this.
you.
You did.
I went like this.
You're so lucky on that Zoom call. I did not cutthroat you with my hand.
Well,
I was
my
about to
mistake-
cutthroat you and made a fool out of you.
My mistake was to call her out.
And the
in
thing
front of
is,
everybody.
but this is the thing. It's not that you had called me out. Like if you would have said it quietly or
I tried to.
No, the
I
person
didn't-
on the other end heard you too, and she was like,
everybody heard me. But here's the reality. Like I thought.
it embarrassed me. It embarrassed us. So I should have cutthroat you to embarrass you too.
Well, here's the thing. I felt embarrassed by you.
I felt embarrassed by you. The fact that you're telling me I have that face of like pissed off face.
Show them the face. You should do it.
What face am I? What
Come
face?
on, zoom the face. You weren't like that. You were not like that. Right here. Look here. What face did you have?
I can't do it because you're making me laugh.
Here, put it on me.
First of all, I can't even wrinkle my forehead. So I already know I have this look. I was like this the whole time. I'm gonna show you the face. Seriousness. Couple of minutes. Give me a second.
No.
That was the face. That was the face. That was the face. That was the face.
Anyway, that's not even the subject today.
Just telling you.
But we do get into that type of trying to correct our partner on a consistent basis. At least I do. And
I know I'm not the only one. I'm telling you, there's a lot of relationships out there. I see it all the time where the male always tries to correct the woman because they want us a certain way. You guys want us a certain way, and I am not that female. I am a very strong, powerful, and you can see it. I'm like I carry it on me,
yes.
But I can't. I'm not going to change for you or anyone.
I understand that, but you also brought up a good point.
What?
You said, "Now I know why." Because you also agreed somewhat with me.
Oh, that was in Miami. Why I got my ass kicked growing up?
Yeah, why you got your butt kicked? Why you always bullied? Why? Because you called it the RBF, right?
I did. And that's so
face.
inappropriate. I don't like that. But I got to tell you, I caught myself in Miami when you called me out one time. We were at this broker thing event, and my arms were crossed, and I'm looking at the guy. And you said to me, you have this.
Same thing.
You have this look. Oh, yeah, very similar. So I was just like, I'm listening. I'm in tune with the guy. I want to hear what he's having to say. And then I'm looking around, and the women over here in the exact same room are kind of smiling at him, just like I'm not that woman. I'm just not that person. Yeah. Then I go home. I go to the hotel. I'm chilling on the beach, and then I was like, holy smokes, I know now why I got my butt kicked growing up. I have this look, and I just can't, I don't realize I have that look. Okay. But when people tell me, and no one's ever told me you have that look. I just kind of figured that out on my own in my late 30s.
It was a revelation to you. It was a revelation. And
I was like, man, I never knew why I got beat up so much.
Yeah, because there's certain characteristics, there's certain mannerisms that, socially we accept. And I'm not saying that we have to posture, but there's a certain form to, especially as guests, I think a look can go a long way because we can only observe people based on what we see and what we hear. So it's like you coming in here with an angry voice, people are going to assume you're angry. And so when you come in with the face, people are going to assume you're upset about something. Anyway, you're not going to agree with me. I'm not going to agree with you.
I'm not going to agree with you because I'm looking at you like I'm not going to be concerned on how people are going to look at me.
Yeah, you're right.
I can't help it. I can't walk around life like that. It's a miserable life. And trust me, I've had.
Yeah, you have.
That's the way. That's what brought in my all kinds of issues that I have because in my head I'm like, are they thinking I'm judging them? Or am I too loud for them? Am I speaking too, bluntly, firm? And I'm just like, man, I'm confused. Life is just crazy. So I can't be concerned about that. But
no, you're right. You're right.
I'm gonna tell you. I respect on what you told me. I will, and I told you on the phone.
And all I said was this. I never. All I said is we were guests there. I mean, how would you want a guest if somebody had a face of just staring there in our house? I mean. You would feel uncomfortable. Right?
I don't know how I would feel. I've been in those situations where I'm like, I get it.
We got off subject big time, though.
All right, let's get back on subject.
Big time.
All right. That's something that we
was a story that we needed to tell, and I see some people are agreeing. I'm exactly the same way, Carla. When I'm focused and learning, I look extremely
Jessica,
intense.
for example. I'm going to say prime example with Jessica, right? I love this. This morning, Jessica leaves. I'm training her this morning. I had her in my class this morning. And she leaves with a serious face. And if Jessica, when she works out, she's intense. Her face is serious. And so I'm never thinking she's mad. I'm never thinking anything. I know exactly a woman like her because she's a powerful, strong, independent woman, Jessica, you are. And so I already know, knowing from me, coming from me to her, I'm like, I know where she's coming from.
So you're saying it's misinterpreted by weak people?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly. So because I know when another woman's looking at me, I know it's all seriousness. I know the difference between someone who's in my house and completely quiet and, like you said, making me feel uncomfortable. That's because she's feeling uncomfortable that she's there, maybe for whatever reason, right? But I can see a face that's intense, that's there, that wants to learn, that's serious, and that's Jessica. Every morning, she doesn't show up laughing and giggling. Every once in a while, I crack a joke. She smiles at me. But as soon as she's done with the workout, she's out. And I'm like, you okay? Your back's okay, Jessica? Yeah, all right. Yeah, I'm good, Carla. And she's out. And so powerful to a powerful woman, a strong, independent woman, I tell you what, nowhere do we find that resting face. Nowhere. But when you got a weak woman or a weak man looking at a woman like me, what's wrong with her? She's mad. She's this. I'm like, no, fool. I'm just concentrating. I got things to do. I have a lot of things on my mind.
Got it.
So, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, you're doing the same judgment on me. Same thing. It's the exact same thing. So, and then I'm looking at you. I'm like, why are you shaking your head to yes everything and going like this to and when you have no interest or you nothing, like you're like a puppet. That's what I want to tell you that day when you told me that I had that resting face. I want to be like, you were like a puppet the whole time. So we got in this fight.
Kind of like what I'm doing right now. I'm like engaging. See that? Got it.
But I know you're being a little punk because
No,
I know
I'm
you're
not. I'm engaging.
You're a puppet.
So let me stay like this.
You're a weak puppet. That's what you are, a weak puppet. That's all I got to say to you. But get back on the subject.
So the subject is, now that you mentioned weak.
All right.
First of all, you're like all lovey-dovey and, I love you. All up on my beard.
Well, it doesn't mean I don't love you. It doesn't mean you're not you are a powerful man. You are powerful because I'm going to tell you why. I'm not going to take them back, but I'm going to tell you why, because you stepped up to me. You didn't allow me to belittle you when I was like, no, 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 no. And then you stood your ground and I stood my ground, and we have two different opinions. And we respect them.
We settled on something?
That, yeah,
we did.
We did, and you know.
Because I told you there were some things that really,
bothered you. Yeah, it bothered you. And then I said, okay, I'll work on them, but it doesn't mean I'm going to change. But I'll make sure I'm next time I'm aware of it. And that's all I said. But I'm definitely not going to change that face because I just can't. I'll go crazy.
No, I don't want you to change your face. I fell in love with that face.
Really?
Like this. I got your feelings like this. You see that?
Really?
Got him. I got it. I got game, girl. I got game. But, see, look at you.
All right.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking pretty.
You're pretty good looking.
Good, right?
Yeah.
See, you looking at me? So anyway, so we get into the subject, and I think, can
we have some AC up in here?
It's a little warm. It's a little warm in here.
I don't know if it's AZ that just
got intense all of a sudden.
Does all of a sudden look like a strong man right here?
Whew.
Ain't no weak man in front of me.
I see the hearts out of your eyes. Look at you.
I'm just saying.
You know, that's one of the reasons I fell in love with you is the way you looked at me.
I know. You've told me that.
Yeah. There's a certain look. There's a certain look. You still give it to me, so I keep you around.
Well, yeah, okay.
I keep you around.
I have that look, but then why do you complain about it?
The other look's a little.
So what look do you want me to have?
The look that you know.
That little weak look?
Yeah.
That I'm in love look?
Yes.
Well, I got shit to do. I ain't got time for that look all day. I got.
All right.
I'll give it to you once in a while.
If I could get it every once in a while. So, all right. So I mentioned Jordan Peterson, right? This guy is a little controversial. I think he's a great philosopher, and I think you actually turned me on to him, as a matter of fact. Jordan Peterson, the YouTube videos.
Oh, yeah.
Then I got his book, 12 Rules of Life.
He's actually really awesome. If you guys don't know him,
he's
you might want to read up on him.
Extremely intelligent person, one of the great philosophers of modern day history. And he mentioned something. He was on an interview, and there was this interviewer that was just really trying to expose him for being some type of sexist or for being, just some type of right-wing lunatic, when in fact he spoke a lot of truth about, how important it is for a man to be powerful, right? To be powerful in a relationship. And when there's a weak man that shows up in a relationship, it doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't serve the partner. It doesn't serve themselves. In fact, they become bitter, resentful, vengeful, deceitful. And he says that there's a lot of that happening in today's modern age, where men are not growing up, right? They're not growing up. They're not coming in at this powerful. When I say powerful, I'm not saying tyrannical, with tyranny, right? Where they're overbearing on their spouse.
Right.
I meant someone who's competent. He meant that someone who's competent. And as a matter of fact, he said power is competence.
Yeah.
And women want competent men. Someone to contend with, were his exact words.
Right.
And it really reflected and it really reminded me of our relationship, where I am very different today. I'm a very competent, powerful man today. Yet I thought I was that before. But in fact, I was just overwhelming. I was overbearing.
Mm-hmm.
I was weak.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I showcased my power was to be, like almost, how would you describe that?
You're just a punk. You're a jerk.
I was a jerk.
You're a jerk.
Jerk. Right?
You were just, yeah.
Yeah, because I was falling short in everything that I wanted to create, I took my frustrations out on you.
Yeah, you were overwhelming and impatient. You were just a jerk.
Impatient. I was just a jerk.
There is all kinds of things to say about you, but you weren't abusive or
no, nothing like that.
No, you weren't. Yeah, let's put that out there. You weren't abusive or anything. You were just a jerk. You were just mean.
I was I was impatient.
Yeah.
I was a jerk.
Yeah.
To put it lightly.
Yeah.
And I was just showcasing my frustrations of how short I was coming up in life. But with that, I was also very weak in the fact that if something would go wrong, Carla, I would be the first person that would stay in bed.
Right.
I would turn the blinds, stay in bed, and feel sorry for myself. From your perspective, how did you feel every time you saw me? And we had just an interaction just last week where I was still laying in bed. It was like 9:30, and that's very rare.
Yeah.
But I went out and ran 10 miles, so I was hurting. My body was hurting. I went into the shower and went back to lay back down, and you came, and you're like, hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
How did it feel? And I told you, oh, no, it's nothing like that. I just ran 10 miles, and I'm hurting.
Yeah.
But how did it feel being in the position you were at when I would lay in bed helpless because I lost a big deal, I lost money, my business wasn't going the way it should have been, we were having financial problems. How did it make you feel?
Frustrated and weak and lost. I felt like your energy was thrown on me, and I felt overwhelmed with feeling like, man, I got to pick it up. And so I had to put my issues aside, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
So I had a lot going on in my life. So I felt like if you're not going to make it happen, if you're not going to be able to pay the bills and do all these things for us, then I got to step up the game. But I stepped it up in resentment and anger.
Yes.
And so I was just like, we're not going to end up homeless, and we're not going to, though that's not even, none of us were even an option in my head. It's not an option. And so I'll just pick up the family and do what I need to do. And so it was very depressing. It was very depressing because I had so many issues that I had to deal with, and I couldn't get to them because when our backs are turned against the wall, you're kind of like, I just got to block everything out and fight. Yeah, fight or flight kind of deal. So I did exactly that. But it was definitely, I had to stand in my power in that point, because if not, you would have brought me down with you.
Yes.
And it wouldn't have been good. But it, and then the tables turned obviously a couple of years later.
Yeah.
And then, it was me, the one in bed, and you're dragging me out, right? But I just had to. And it's like at the end of the day, after a while, when time went by, I was like, I'm done. I can't be married to you. I don't care. And I remember always telling you this, I don't care if you've fallen and we've lost everything, but you need to get your ass back up. And so that to me is a man. To me, a weak man doesn't mean that you fall and you lost everything. That is not a weak man. A weak man is when they stay down there and you continue being weak and you don't see your ways. A powerful man is one that falls and rises up again. And so you can fall and rise up 100 times. That to me is a powerful man. And you're continue growth. You're not blaming your insecurities and your failures on your wife and your spouse and your girlfriends and your children. You're failing and you're picking yourself up and you're learning from that, and you keep going. Sometimes you'll fail a bunch of times. But to me, a man is a man that's going to continue to rise, no matter how many times you've fallen. And that was not you at one point. And this was years ago. And I'm talking about years ago. Is this to you today? Hell no. I've never seen you like that. So when I did see you like that, I had to remind myself it was just a moment. It's not going back to that. He really is exhausted because you're training for the Ironman. So he's just basically taking a nap. I'm not accustomed to seeing you taking naps or resting. So, it's scary. It's kind of the same thing when you see me lock myself in the closet and you go and you're like, are you okay? Because I go through my depression, anxiety at moments, but it's nowhere near to what I was.
No.
So
very infrequent, by the way.
Right, very. So it's one of those things, you kind of have that moment. You're like, damn, are we going to go through this?
Yeah, it takes you all the way back. Yeah.
It does.
And I saw the concern. I saw the concern in your eyes because I was just laying there and you came and you're like, it almost took us back 5-10 years ago, right? And I didn't realize, I was in my own head during that time. There was a lot of financial issues that came up. I failed miserably. I lost us a ton of money, 6 figures plus. We owed more than that, 7 figures. And I was just overwhelmed. And all I thought about was how short I came up and how disappointed I was, not realizing that what I was doing at that specific moment was even more disappointing than everything else I did. And I know that you just got tired of propping me up because I wasn't the first. I mean, this was constant through our relationship.
Right.
You would always say, come on, babe, you can do this. It's okay. And you would remind me. You were almost like, speak this positivity to me. And I think that's a great supporter. But at some point, a woman cannot continue to prop up their men.
Right.
And that's what you kept on doing with me. You kept propping me up. Like I would fail. I would feel sorry for myself. I would shut down. Then I would expect you to come in. Come on, baby, you can do this. Hey, it's not that bad. And I know you were full of fear because when you see your partner shut down, I mean, you start thinking, oh, shit, I have to do this all myself.
And the second time it happened to us, and this was years ago that we're talking about. So, but it's just an amazing story that I had with you. And I just love that I went through it with you because just to see that strength in you, it's like, it's the world to me. But anyway, the second time that I felt that way is when you ended up coming home from CrossFit and I only find out that you've busted both of your pecs and your bicep. And you needed major surgery and you needed the buttons because the muscle was attached to the bone. You were really messed up. So to go find out like, hey, he's going to go through some deep surgeries, probably 2 or more, and
bedridden,
and you have to shower him. And I'm just like, oh my God, how long is this going to last? Doctor was like, I don't know. It kind of depends on his therapy.
Right.
So I remember going to the back room and the girl who actually was your nurse, I used to know her many years ago. She actually met you when you were 20. And yeah, that nurse, and when she came out, I had no idea she was helping you. And she comes out, she goes, Carla? And we looked at each other, I'm like, yeah. And so she's known me since I was like 17, 18. And she's like, is that your husband? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, don't be scared. He's just very sedated right now. And I'm like, why? And she's like, just don't be scared kind of deal. And so she holds, she knew we've been married for a long time. She knew that you were my second boyfriend because she met you many years ago. Yeah. So she walks me to the back and I'm like, Lindsay, I'm like, oh my gosh. She's like, yeah, he's not all there. He's very weak. So your head was just down. And I'm just like, so I started just crying emotionally. And she thought he's going to be okay. But I don't think she realized I'm seeing this weak man again and I'm going to have to take care of him. And I'm like, oh my God, but I can do this. Yeah. And
just triggered all those past emotions.
Yeah. So the girls were like, my dad. And I'm like, he's going to be fine, girls. We're going to, so of course I had to wipe my tears before they saw me. They had to see this powerful mom. I'm like, I got this. Don't worry. And I ran alone. I did everything for 3 months because you couldn't even drive. Yeah. And you were like a little dinosaur with 2 little arms. Yeah. So I had to do everything. And luckily I didn't have to take you to the bathroom or anything. You're able to do that. But I had to shower you. I had to clothe you. I had to do all that. Come to the office, run around for the kids and do everything. So yeah, that really brought a fear, but it brought a sense of empowerment to me. Like with him or without him, I can actually take care of him and everything's going to be okay. Yeah. But that was another moment, but I'm so glad because it prepared me from the first time. The second time.
But the big difference was, and I know we had this conversation before, is like I didn't revert to that
place.
And I was still there mentally, like I was on my game, right? And that even surprised you.
Yes, because what was really cool, I was going to go back to that, was in that time of 3 months, you were actually still running the show. Yeah. You were still in bed and doing your thing, and don't worry, I got this, because you knew after recovery, you were never going to be the same man again. Yeah. Your body was not going to be the same thing. Right. But people were coming in. A lot of people were helping you out. Isaiah came in and there's multiple, everybody basically was like, don't worry, AZ, we got you. And I was like, oh my God, the support around us was amazing. And you never stopped once. So that was the difference between that and that.
Yes, because, before I would have just completely shut down. I would have been victimized by the circumstances. But that was a major breakthrough for us. I think that was a test for us. And for me to realize I don't have to go all the way back down there. I don't have to be depressed. I don't have to feel like, time is being wasted.
That's huge because you knew from that point forward, you were never going to be the same. And the recovery was, wow. Yeah. It was rough. It was rough.
But what I love about that is that how much we actually grew from that point forward. It was just like, it was almost that test for you to dominate the next level of success that we were going to get. But it could have easily gone the other way, where I could have reverted. And that's where I actually switched everything. I went from weight training and CrossFit to cycling. Yeah. And you bought me my first bike. Yeah. And that changed my entire perspective of endurance sports because I couldn't do anything with my arms. So I started, using my legs. So I started picking up running and I started picking up cycling to a point where I did a 70.3, which is funny.
What was neat too, I even made time at night. I would take you outside to train your legs to make sure that you weren't using your upper body. Remember that? So we went months training your lower body. And so, yeah, we stuck by. We were a team. We were definitely a strong team because you were a team member.
Yes.
Versus before, I was not like that. So
Yeah.
you were like an awesome team. So
Yeah,
it
before I
worked.
would have just sat there. And I think that's what happens with a lot of men nowadays is that, you know, we attribute so much. We attribute so much to the success of what we bring home that if we don't bring that home, we don't realize we do more damage by coming in weak, right? Because it's not always going to work out. Business has not always worked out. And for a long time, even owning this brokerage, you saw that. It wasn't working out, but what was my mindset? I was getting up and I was doing this over and over and over again, which gave you the confidence to be like, all right, if I don't have to prop him up, then I'm going to start moving at his speed.
Yeah.
And you always say something, hunt like the men. Hunt like, you know, going out there and doing the same things of building something great. And that's exactly what we did. And we've done that together, and it's just been unbelievable, right? But I had to get out of my own way. I had to get out of my own habits. And for me to just sit there in pity wasn't serving anyone. Like he said, I become useless. I became useless to myself, to the family, to my daughters. And it's when I can just say, hey, yeah, everything's dark right now, but I'm going to continue to move forward.
Right.
And that's the mindset that I've had, and I've been working on it for the last 6 years, 7 years now, and it's been amazing. And I didn't realize how weak of a man I was actually showing up. Right. And I think that's what happens with today's day and age. A lot of men, and he gave you the example of like Homer Simpson, right? And there was one particular that mirrors life in general, but there was one particular episode where he didn't get his bonus. He didn't get his bonus from, you know, the power plant, from Mr. Burns. And he came home and he felt very weakened because we get a lot of a sense of gratification of the amount of money we can bring home and what we can supply for our family. So he said that when Homer, he even though he was a bumbling fool in general, he felt the lowest point when he couldn't deliver for his family. And I think there's a lot of men out there that are feeling down on themselves. They beat themselves up. They make things worse, gain weight, don't do anything to progress their business, don't even show up to a relationship because they feel like they can't supply. When in fact, if they would change their mindset, they can create that. And a woman, at least in your case, you told me, I don't care how much you lose. I don't care how much you bring in. I just want you to get back out the next day and tell me I got this. Yeah. And that was so powerful. And I think more men need to hear that. Yeah. Like you can't show up weak because that really starts destabilizing. Yeah. It destabilizes a home. Yeah. Like it did ours.
Yeah. Yep. No, I agree 100%.
Yeah, no, but I want to, you know, and with that, Carla, like you were a very patient woman. A very patient woman.
I think, you know, and I think too, I think a lot of the women, though, I know in my case, we stay there because we know it's like we come from an abusive relationship already. So it's kind of like we wanted kind of, in a sense, it kind of felt good that I had that power. Yeah, it felt good because I was like, I come from a relationship already. Before you, I had an abusive boyfriend who cried all the time, who was just weak. Manipulative, there we go. And so he was just abusive and physically and mentally abusive with me. And just before I met you, you're my second boyfriend, I married you. So I felt this power when I saw you a certain way. And it was just like, well, you know.
And he argued, you know, Jordan Peterson argued that there's some women that you know, tend to like weak men because they could dominate them.
Yeah, and I just felt some sense of power at one point in my life, and it felt good, right, in our relationship. But at the end of the day, that's not what I wanted. I didn't want that. That's not what I wanted. I needed you to man up, but it was like, well, if he's not been here before, so let me take
Then I'll start. And you did. You started really dominating the relationship, and it weakened me even further. Yeah. It weakened you because that's not what you're looking for. And he argued, Jordan Peterson argued that you know women that want those weak men is because they have, you know, it stems from bad relationships. And of course, there's some exceptions to the rule, but he says they will settle for weak men because they can dominate them. Yeah. And that's not healthy for the woman. It's not healthy for the man. It's not healthy for anyone. Yeah. But that continues on. And the men, guess what? Some weak men just say, okay, cool. You can dominate. That alleviates me from any responsibility. I don't have to grow. I don't have to be ambitious. I'll stay home and I'll do this. And here, again, you may disagree, but in our case, it fit right in the way he described it. Yeah. You became dominant and it weakened me.
No, and again, you know, we're not criticizing. I have a couple of people I know who actually have stay-at-home husbands and their wives work and they're you know.
But there's some truth to this. But hey, that's not, you know, here or there.
It's not here or there. And those women I know
it just didn't work for us.
Well, I got to tell you, those women that I do know that have the stay-at-home dad, they do come from a past relationship that's abusive. Yeah. but they dominate, and they've chose a husband who likes to stay at home, and that's totally okay. That is okay, but it didn't work for us. At least it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me.
It may seem like everyone loves the sense of domination, but long term, it doesn't work for anyone.
No, I needed a partner that was going to be, like you said, hunt with me. I didn't want
a competent man.
Competent man, yeah.
That can contend with, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's not. There's nothing wrong with that, but at the same, that's not what's meant for me. I needed somebody beside of me with a freaking rifle.
It destroyed our relationship. It destroyed our sense of fulfillment.
Yeah.
And it was because she took on a role she didn't want, and I took on a role that I didn't want.
Yeah.
I victimized myself. I showed up weak, and that's what we got in the relationship.
Yeah.
And when I decided to, and I remember there was a phrase that I told you that because you were testing me as I was trying to grow out of this, and I even told you, you're not going to talk to me this way. You're not going to, come at me this way. And it's kind of like those individuals that, they get treated the way they show up. If you show up weak, people are going to treat you as weak, right? And I was showing up weak, so you treated me as weak.
Yeah.
And of course, that didn't serve anyone. So I started working, and I was like, wait a minute. Okay, I'm going to take the reins out on this family. But you weren't willing to give it up. You were like, no, you kept on, challenging me. You thought I was going to revert back to my old ways, because I told you for many years, I'm going to change.
And then,
I'm going to do this. Yeah. But I was like, no, I'm going. And you saw the consistency in me.
But my personality is also very strong.
You're a very strong woman.
So it's very strong, and it was weakened. And when you started to become that individual, it's funny because our relationship had a roller coaster of emotions. It was crazy. But no, really the inner me is very strong personality since I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's just inner me. And then you took that from me, and then you gave it back, and then you took it. And I'm over here like this weak woman. I don't want to lose you, so let me just kind of play the role of whatever you want me to be, So I was very, very confused. But that brought a lot of headaches in our relationship.
Yeah, and just to summarize it a bit.
My consistency of being strong wasn't all there.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. But you weren't also willing to give up the reins.
Yeah.
And because you had, to put it bluntly, you had my balls in your hands, right? And you were like, nope.
I didn't want to give them back to you.
Yeah, well,
Why didn't I know you were going to use them?
I mean, that's a physical term. Yeah, a lot of women, if you're not going to do something with it, women are like, if you're not going to do something with it, I'll just take them.
Put them in my purse.
And I'll put them right here.
I'll cuddle them.
Here, you want them?
And do you use Stupid.
So we talk about that, right? You had them, and you didn't want to give them back. Yeah. And that's what happens in a lot of relationships. But once a woman has them, even though she doesn't want them, if her man's not going to use them, she's going to keep them in her hand. She's like, all right.
At the end,
it's like a stress ball. She starts using them like stress balls,
right in front of your face.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you want this?
But at the end of the day, honestly, it's a mutual respect of like power, I guess.
But I remember I told you after a heated argument, I don't know what it was about, and I looked in your face and I said, I am man enough to handle you. You can come at me. You can continue to try, and you could try to, think that I'm not going to show up on a daily, but I am man enough to handle you. Of course, it didn't go down the way I wanted the day I said that, but a couple days later, you were like, okay, you're right.
I remember I went in your face.
Oh, you were being aggressive.
My ass.
Oh, yeah, you were talking a lot of stuff. But you came back and you were like, you're right. I need to work on myself, and that began another growth process, which we'll talk about a different time.
Yeah, that definitely brought me to a whole new level.
What do you guys think about this? I mean, what we're talking about no woman wants a weak man, about how a weak man just brings the instability to a home. And guess what? Like, women are getting fed up. I mean, based on the statistics, Carla, 69% of women are women who filed for divorce.
Yeah.
And if they're educated with a college degree,
they're out.
90% file for divorce.
Out.
And I think that has to do with the man just not showing up as powerful and as competent as he should be. So, guys, like, if you're in this place where you're constantly beating yourself up for not creating what you want, don't shut down at home. I mean, that further destabilizes the home, and you will lose trust in your spouse. And it's hard to get that back. And you just start digging yourself further and further in a hole where it puts a responsibility that your wife doesn't want, or your girlfriend doesn't want. And we got to own up to that. And of course, this seems like a male female thing, and I'm talking in general. And it's not to be pass judgment on whatever you're creating in your life, but in our case, this is what changed the entire dynamic of our marriage.
Yeah.
And we're still together. We love each other. I can't imagine my life without you.
Oh, and we respect each other, and I'm not going to take BS, and I will keep my attitude strong.
And your RBF.
And my RBF, I'll keep it strong.
Keep strong. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Mindset. No, not Mindset Mastery. This is another one.
Oh, no.
It's my own podcast of Do the Work podcast. I am your host. And I want to read one comment here. We got our boy right here, Patrick Foster. Everything that you are saying are facts. That's their frustration. Yes. Take the balls. Give them back for a couple hours a day until you show up. That's what you want. That's what you want. Show up without talking about it. Absolutely. And so much truth to that, Patrick. I'm glad it resonated with you. It's not going to resonate with anyone. But again, if you disagree, you're more than welcome to put it here or start your own podcast and say your opinions there. But we do appreciate you tuning in. We do appreciate you supporting this show. And if it's helped you, helped you see a different perspective for your relationship, for your business, or anything that has to do with life in general, right? Please share this podcast, and don't forget to rate, subscribe, and review. We do appreciate your support, and because of your support, we're still here to this day. So thank you again, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye now. Everyone. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Do the Work podcast, brought to you by Do the Work Coaching and Consulting. You can watch this and other episodes by subscribing to our channel on YouTube or by visiting our site directly at dothework.com. For our audio listeners, you can listen to this episode and many others on your preferred podcast provider. Finally, to stay up to date on the next time we will be going live, follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
This episode of Do the Work podcast, Real Estate Edition, is brought to you by Jason Smith team at Nova Home Loans. Jason, a Navy veteran, has been recognized as one of the top 100 loan originators in the country. There is no task too big or too small for the Jason Smith team. Every client counts. For the best rates and great service, contact Jason at 480-227-6231 or visit novahomeloans.com. I personally stand by his service, and so do thousands of satisfied clients. That's Jason Smith at Nova Home Loans, NMLS number 210839.